And the city just hosted its kind of first ever ethics and election workshop, if you want to call it. They have a consultant, Dr. Tom Shanks, who's a tremendous resource for the city, works with many cities, including now ours. You were at that workshop where
yes.
the candidates came to sort of pledge that they will run ethical campaigns. What were your thoughts on that whole workshop? Did you think it was necessary? Did the candidates need to be reminded? And finally, what do you hope to see discussions during this election from the candidates?
I think every candidate starts out thinking that he's going to run a very ethical campaign. And I think the definition of what is or isn't ethical in the campaign is what was highlighted in this meeting on Saturday. And it reminded people of some of the things that were questionable in the past that shouldn't be repeated. I would hope that they would really deal with issues. A lot of people ask the candidate, well, what do you think about this issue or that issue? What do you think about Marymount? What do you think about the TOT? To my mind, I would rather talk to the people about broader terms. What is your view of the city? Are you aware of what the citizens of the city put together in the goals report that really framed what this city was and is now? How are you going to treat those? Do you agree with them? How are you going to approach a problem? Because there's no way I can predict during their 4-year term the kind of problem that's going to come up. So I would rather know how they're going to approach the problem rather than how they take a position on an existing one, especially when the opportunity to have all the information on a current issue is not really that available to them. I shouldn't say available. They may not have taken the time to avail themselves of all of that, and they're depending on newspapers and other articles which don't give you the entire story. So I don't ask them to give me a position on any issue. I rather want to see where they're going.
So there's another thing that you see as being the hot issues in this election, especially since there aren't any incumbents, which sort of sets up the framework to kind of really take a look at what someone's done, the record.
Oh, there will be hot issues that will be manufactured and people will take positions on things. But if you're so narrowly focused on those hot issues, I don't think you're really looking at an agenda for the city.
So if you were running, which you're not running, then in terms of what would you be out there, your message? Would it be continuing the vision? What was the vision? What should be the vision? I mean.
Basically, my approach has always been, I tell them what I believe the city vision should be in very general terms, not on a specific issue, how I'm going to approach the problem, what methods I'm going to use to get the information I have, and then make a fully informed decision.
Mm-hmm. Well, the voters out there are not going to have an easy task because there's 7 candidates that are all, I'm sure, have wonderful things that they can bring to the city, and trying to figure out, you said it's a very important decision as well because the council makeup is about to change.
Well, the council makeup will change this time, and then in 2011, the 3 current sitting council members will leave, so they will be termed out. And therefore there will be 3 vacancies without incumbents running in 2011, and that's going to be another pivotal election. And I would hope the citizens take the time to weed out all the innuendos and the accusations and get back to the real core of the matter.
Dr. Tom Shanks, who held that workshop, he suggested that all the candidates running put each other on their mailing list, so any material that goes out, they can all see it. What did you think of that idea? Was that wishful thinking?
No, there's 2 benefits. Number one, by doing that, then each candidate knows what the other candidate is doing and is not subject to some piece of information that the candidate, quote, doesn't have control over. And that way they can talk to each other and resolve any issue between them, which there shouldn't be, because the issue should be issues of the city, not between the candidates. The other thing is that he proposed was a forum just before the election so that any last-minute hit pieces could be answered, because that's been a tactic in the past where you put out a hit piece just late enough So everybody gets it, but not in time for the one who's been hit to respond to it, and that's unfair.
Well, I'm sure that all of our voters out there will have a chance to go on through smartvoter.org. I think you can start looking at the candidates. I know I was asked to host and moderate with Ashley Radcliffe. We're going to have a televised forum for all the candidates. I think it's October 14th, so they can watch and hear what all the candidates have to say. So it's exciting. Now, I was referencing the workshop for the ethics in elections, and also there was a workshop following for team building. There's been a focus in the last few years on having the council work better as a team. Now you're part of that team again. What are your thoughts on how are you going to help make this council work more effectively as a team, do you think?
Well, first of all, I think the council has grown to the point where it is very, very effective now. They are working more as a team than they were here in the not too recent past. What I think I can bring to this council is a perspective that you don't have the benefit of when you sit behind the dais. I've been watching the council, I've been participating in council meetings and that sort of thing from an audience standpoint. And when I haven't been in the audience, I've been watching them on TV. And it's very interesting. There's a different perspective of what you think the council is doing there than what the council believes it may be doing.
Right.
And during that afternoon session, I was able to identify a few things to my colleagues that from a audience perception standpoint. And I hope that's been beneficial. I know having had that experience, I'm going to be far more careful about how I present things, trying to look at it, well, this is what I think, but am I doing it in a way that the audience will really understand it and not get the wrong impression?
I know one of the criticisms of the council, and they all aware of it, is just how long these meetings go. And I thought that whether you were sort of highlighting during that workshop about the idea of when the council's looking at an issue, they discuss it and they discuss it, there's the public hearing process, and then they talk about what they think, and then they vote, and then they restate it again. Which, I mean, if you're voting, that would clarify your position. So where were you going with all that, and do you think that you might help tighten up meetings for the public's benefit and for all the council's benefits? I mean, you must want to get home to bed by midnight.
Well, I'm used to getting to bed a lot later than that on the original councils. However, I think the council's process is correct in that they ask staff for questions to get answers when they want some clarification. They get public input. Then they discuss the issues from the standpoint of clarifying what the public issue is. At that point, rather than go and discuss their positions, I would think it would be better if they would make a motion, get it seconded, so it would focus the discussion on what the motion really is. Sitting in the audience at times, I've watched the council make a motion and then speak to that motion before the second even has a chance, and by the time they get done, it's confusing as to what the real motion was.
Right.
So
and if you're getting confused, we're in big trouble.
So if they could make their motion, get it seconded, then discuss it. And one of the things that I will avoid is I will not predicate a vote by a discussion of what position I'm going to take, because especially if my other colleagues on the council haven't expressed their viewpoint yet, because they may give me some cogent fact that I wasn't aware of, which would change my position. So I think discussion is fine, it should be complete, it should be thorough, but you don't vote until you're asked for the vote. That's my view.
Well, we are looking forward to seeing you in the future meetings. We only have a few minutes left, and one thing, I mean, you're such a great resource for all of us because you helped lay the foundation of this city.
I did not do it alone.
I know, you and a wonderful group of individuals that wanted to incorporate the city